So last week you talked about Chinese medicine being a multi-dimensional system. Can you talk a little bit more about that now?
Yes, Chinese medicine we don't really use much machine and then to diagnose patients first and then treat. And there's many different technique in Chinese medicine, but those technique is all based on the doctor themselves. So that is definitely linked with doctor how to cultivate themselves. So let me go back to what Chinese medicine is about actually, and there's huge system. The system including the visible part is like you have a flesh, you have the bone, you have the blood vessels, you have your eyes, nose, mouth, all of that so can be seen. That is the same as understanding as Western medicine, because we're dealing this part too. And then that's one why we were doing the face reading diagnose to see if your face very pale, your short of blood supply and all of that. That's the visible part. This part, even inside the body, and I had the blood vessel systems, and lymphoma systems, nerve systems. It's all like trees. It's like a constant moving, connecting with each other. So that Chinese medicine dealing with that too. But that's one sense which is been centuries. People try to find out how Chinese medicine works. Just use one needles and then can get over lots of problems. It is invisible part. That system is huge. They are dealing with space and time. It is always give kind of like a miracle, a mystical aspect. It's called meridian system. And meridian research has been had such kind of stories, so now we not mention about that. There's so many scientists put research on that. And then they think it as the nervous system, they think it's water system, because there are, when you put needles, people can sense something like moving and the pressure and then tingling and all of that sensation. So they try to find out what it is. But none of them really can explaining, because how could you puncture your feet beside your toes can release the serious headache. So that sometimes doesn't really be explainable by the nerve system or lymphoma system. So that's why there's lots of scientists thinking, wow, there must be the third balance system in the body. So anyhow, we're not talking about their research. So I just want to mention that. So that's become a mystical phenomenon and has been always there, and but never really have any conclusion how that works. So that's why, but of course, recently there's more research mentioned that's the linked with some electric magnetic field, which is more closer with is about the vibration. So this part is been used and works from the right beginning of the Chinese medicine has become their independent system. So that's why it's very, very rich, very interesting sense within, because they are reflect this system because they have such a large network. If you understand the traffic system as like the road in the city, so there's multi-levels, there's comes across and then so gets the city rolling and then every supply is going around. So if they stopped, the whole city paralyzed. So for the body, the same. That's the visible part. Actually, the invisible part is like if you are imagined above the star system. So that's how Chinese medicine works. I just want to kind of like touch base a lot of, Chinese medicine doctor, actually, some of doctor was amazing. Patients coming into the room, they already got some idea what they are. It's some of just by people, how they walk, how their face, or when the patient filling up their birth date, they already know how that person's the body situation and what kind of illness, because that's based on the I Ching. The I Ching is a book of change. So because the I Ching is talking about the space and time, the structure. So that's why the meridian system inside the body is the network is almost like a matrix inside the body. There's so much network start connecting each other. And then this connection through the point, each point has had their connection to the certain kind of a star and a galaxy system. And so that's why you can see the body is no longer the body, physical body anymore. It's connecting all of the star system and linked with us. It's gigantic, big space and time system in the human. So that's why in the ancient time, the doctor has practiced Chinese medicine is always named as like prophecies and they are sage. So because they need to have a huge knowledge and wisdom to be able to understand how those invisible system works, because they carried multi-dimension levels information on that particular time when that patient's in front of you. So, and then that's also connecting with the whole society and the wider change, and then every other thing change, and then reflect on that person.
Could I bump in for a second? Let's say, for example, a patient comes in and he's 30 years old, man, and it's today, it's the 26th of December. What is an example of some of these multi-dimensional systems into play, working?
And so, of course, for this, because if you already know, locate that person's age and then the date of the birth, because you need a little bit more data. Human body is biocomputer system. So there's the need for fundamental data. So when you have that data, you can, through that data, access into that system. So that's why even the person's name, the name also means something else. And then so that's why there are some of the doctor access into the harmony stroke of the name, and then the numbers, and then can get into, and also the location of the birth, and then the date. So that's why they need locate the person's the date of the birth and then the date of the place to birth, and of course many other things. Each doctor have a different method, but anyhow, and that is going to the big topic. So I think today we cannot cover all of that.
Fair enough.
So that's why, and if you know, in the ancient time, most of the Taoist monk, and they are very good on the Chinese medicine, because they got to learn all of this, how to understand and the timing and the location, the earth, the heaven branch and the heaven, samples, the earth samples, they're interacting with each other. They call 天干地支, and also the numbers. So because all of that is linked with the 5 elements we used to talk on the virtual part, but there's also have a location aspect, because 5 elements is not just about the earth. People talking about fire, water, earth, metal, and wood. It's not just what we see on the earth, but actually is linked with the 5 stars around the earth, which is much more impact to the earth. So it's like Mars and Jupiter and so Pluto and all of that. So that's one of the reasons. Those stars around, they have an orbit and around the Earth, which have a magnetic impact to the Earth. For this person, when they were born, depends on which stars in charge. So which months they were. So that's they have a mathematics calculation in that. So that's why Chinese medicine doctor, there are lots of skill is about you need to understand the Tao, because the Tao is talking about design for the earth. Originally designed for earth has that program laid up. So you got to understand that program, the big program.
Sure.
And also your body. So that's why you have a multi-layer the knowledge to understand at that particular time why that person get that illness. For somehow like now the people get much more cold and sick, so that's a link with and the winter's not cold enough. So that's one of the reasons why lots of people, the body is getting weak, the immune system getting weak. And so because the kidney doesn't restore the energy enough. So so that's why bring the quite lots of sickness as like virus. So people more kind of vulnerable to that. Of course, so that's why there's quite lots of that kind of a deep reason for like we call the epidemic kind of aspect coming in. So that's why you need to understand the big environment has impact to the people. But of course now let we see the person. When people had the problem, how is that meridians really work instantly for these people, because the meridians actually carried the certain vibration which connecting with the cosmos. So that's why last couple of times we mentioned that, because meridians carried, we call the cosmos background vibration. So that's why if people meridian blocked, so therefore they lost the connection to the multidimensional energy. So that's why the network we call it, like a matrix, the network is broken or blocked. So that's why they have no way to get energy to get them stronger. Because can you imagine that you have so much network to support you to make sure your energy flow free. So if we were talking those kind of invisible energy network, just imagine you have that kind of vibration flow within you. Even you don't see them, it not means they not exist. Nowadays, scientists understand there's electric magnetic field. You can have a short wave, middle wave, long wave, which produce the video, so the people can hear the different frequency, the voice, but they're just metal box. Behind the box there's nobody talk, but how could you produce the voice? So that's why their Chinese medicine doctor to trained is how can you understand your body to cultivate to the point you have such awareness in which kind of a state you can make yourself into certain vibration, and then you will be able to use this vibration and to detect what's happening. For example, that is lots of stories talking about Chinese medicine doctor. They just kind of see patient, even hear their name, they already know what's their problems, because they're through those information to tap into that person's situation. For example, Bianque is a very famous acupuncturist and a doctor in warring state. So because China by that time have lots of small, kin, so there's so much kin in China. So there's the one king called Qi Huan Gong. So he liked hunting. So that's why Bianque was standing among the people. When the king passing by, so he just gave one look. He already say, wow, that's the trouble. So he comes across to try to stop the king, because there's a small country, not like a big, not have so big ceremony, but they still have guardians. So he tells guardians that no, he want to talk to the king. So the king said, so what do you want to tell me? He said, oh, my majesty, you need to take care of yourself. So you're sick, and so please be careful. And so that king said, you're crazy, who are you? So I'm fine, don't make fuss. So he just keep moving. And then next time, the king passing by to do the hunting again. So Bianque saw him, and they said, oh, that's getting deeper now. So, and then he go forward to talk to the guardian and said, oh, I have urgency to talk to the king. So the king said, what's happening? He said, wow, you really need to take care of yourself. Now you're kind of become a dangerous now. The king said, are you silly? I'm fine. I don't really feel anything wrong. So go away. So he couldn't be bothered. So, and then third time, after a few months, he is hunting again. He passing by. But because it's 2 times, the king already get know him. So he find that doctor, Bianque, among the people. And then as soon as Bianchi saw the king, he turned around to run away. And then this time he suddenly said, hey, last time he said I have a serious problem. But why this time he's not bothering me? He ran away. So he said, there's something really strange. So he sent his guardians to call Bianchi, the doctor. Said, why you run away? So Bianchi tell the guardian, said, please tell your king. No, I thought something going much deeper. I cannot treat anymore, so that's why I better not talk. He said, what is the problem? He said, first time the problems come, through the skin, come to the muscles or still can be treatable. So the second time I saw it, the problems already go through into the meridians and go into the organs, but still treatable. But this time I saw the problem is going to the bone marrow. It's so deep, he's going to die. I cannot treat him anymore. So, and then King heard the guard told him what he said. I said, that's really stupid, ridiculous, doctor. I'm fine. But after 2 days, the king died. Suddenly. So that story actually is like almost the textbook for training Chinese medicine doctor, and that's actually is quite basic one. So you just by look the person, you already look the stages, has the disease going deeper. So he already see the progressive about the disease, and then he can predict it. You can understand the Chinese medicine doctor even just by look, and then their body, and then their knowledge. It's not even just knowledge, that there's the kind of a special perception, and then can diagnose and the body system, heart system, which layer to go into. So that's one of the reason the Chinese medicine doesn't use X-ray and the blood testing machine or brain scan and the EEG, ECG. So it's just through the either watching, smell, and touch. That's very basic one. That's still on the visible part. But the other part is by extra sense of perception, because if you cultivate your enough, you can sense the vibration, which layer they go into, how is that affected. Some of the doctor even can see the patient, and then they are internal that system, how is the situation like. Sometimes you can see which part they are affected, whether they're dark or whether there's some energy block it. So that's why for use like a acupuncture, so the acupuncture is to see what this network has been blocked in a particular station. Okay, like we see, there's almost like a traffic kind of system. So either you try to unblock each road, or you find the train station. You sorted out the blockage on the train station, the many other trains that move. That's how smart is about the acupuncturist is, to know how the invisible system works and then which kind of a crucial point you need to use. I had the patients come to me. he used to have lots of pain, and they visit their different kind of doctors and therapists, and then they come to me and said, "Wow, I haven't tried acupuncture, and I haven't really feel better. Probably, but I will try to see how it works." But after I treat him and the pain and all of the problems come, he asked me, he said, "It's very strange. Your needles hasn't got tube and hasn't really got injection. But how could it work? So you just put needles and I feel so much better. Can you explaining that?" Wow, I just thought, interesting. I have to use a kind of something very simple to make people understand, because that's the difficult part, because meridian system is invisible. So I just said, do you understand? Well, okay, put this way, we will work on the network, just like a traffic system. And in England, there's A1, M6, or there's a major traffic road. If there's an accident, there's the block. So therefore, and then the car have to go to sideway. So the body function the same like that. So we have to figure out where's the major block to clear up the block, and then to get their blood circulation move. Because if I'm talking about energy, people even more confused. So what's that energy? Energy is like, you're strong, you can lifting up things, you can do things. But actually there is invisible kind of energy floating. Many times I noticed that when I were put needles on the patients, and I observing, there's almost like river flow along the meridians. You can see underneath of the skin, there's a it's like the sea have lots of water, but there's currents underneath. But when you stimulate that kind of a part, this current specific become more active. So that's why I just said, well, if you understand that how that works, it's like a traffic road, but it's not visible. But I can see that patients are kind of a sort of got it, but not quite, because people have been trained or put or polluted by everything have to see by eyes. But that's why, can you imagine, there's many things not necessary can see by the eyes. So I have one of the scientist friends, he just said, right, why radio can sing, sound, and talk? Is that ghost? Because you cannot see the magnetic field or magnetic line that comes through middle wave and or X-ray. Normally you cannot see it.
We're attached to the physical.
Yes, so that's why Chinese medicine profoundly and based on the invisible part. That's one of the reasons become magician work. Lots of people say, how could that work? I remember I went to American, there's a Harvard University, and the person actually writes the Chinese medicine classical book, and there's so much selling on this book. His topic, I was so fascinated, his topic about is Chinese medicine acupuncture is a placebo effect. So they're talking about could be the mind works. But actually, even talking the mind, yes, mind is invisible, but they could be carried the energy and the vibration. But if people mind too busy, so they cannot carry too much, information because it's just like too much information, like grass. If you have so much grass, it cannot grow in the trees. The tree has to be very strong, very big. So when you are focused, that's another topic actually. So how Chinese medicine doctor have been very, very strongly trained. You got to have a peaceful mind. That's why when we were training the students, we asked themselves that you got to sleep earlier. Your mind need to be calm, not too busy. If you're too busy, how can you sense what patient's qi means, patient's vibration? Because normally, for the doctor, if they are super calm, before the patient comes, they already sense the vibration, sense their energy, sense their qi. So that's why it's, yes. So it's sometimes those network is already existing around us, and depends on whether you have ability to just tap in. So if you're thinking our body as a matrix is but a huge network, and through that meridian system, so that's why if you close your eyes, okay, we just draw the picture. You close your eyes, you imagine, or you just visualize the earth have so much network around. You know, all of the different stars energy come in. There's multi-star energy come in, connecting with the earth. It comes across as huge network, or each person connecting, and their family, their colleague, and then their teacher, their student, and their all of their other people. So can you imagine all of us is receiving the message and the information? Just imagine, so each person is like a broadcast. I'm just like give you some idea about it, because normally people don't think in that way. They just said, oh, I'm just a person, I'm tired. Because I see quite lots of patients. They said, oh, I really feel sad, I'm really tired. I said, did your family, any person died, or any depressed people? They say, yes. Because some people, meridian systems more open, more sensitive. They receive the information, the message of the other person, profound experience and feeling. So they just get it. And instead of treating them, because I have quite a number of patients like that, they come in, they complain, that was terrible, and then eventually I realize it's not their own problems. You find that their organs is fine, they just profound sensitive. So that's why we have lots of people have an ESP, an extra sense of perception, which we think is extra because everybody gets it. But everybody has it, put this way. But some people are not open to it, or some people not get in touch to it, or some people that and you know their chi, their energy is so blocked. So and then that's why the meridian system is kind of their pathway through your the central energy system in the body, and then along the spine, in front of the spine. It's like that's why in Indian they call it chakra system. In the Taoist, lots of people hear about the three dantian as the internal alchemy. But actually, if you look closely about how is that the practice doing, it's not three, it's seven. But the three is the center point in the more obvious, the round part, once the head is the where our head is round, not square, right? It's round. The center part is energy concentrate, or their chest area, or their abdominal area, because the bone holding that space. Because that's why the Chinese medicine is the space and the system of the space. In that space, they hold most obviously energy center in the middle. So that's why we can see our chest, in fact, is quite a strong part. So because it's a hold the heart energy center. So it's not heart organs. The heart organ is not on the center, it's slightly on the side. So that's why lots of people said, talking on the heart base, that I think it's the heart organs. No, it's the center part of the chi and then the light, most strong part, because this one is the huge energy broadcasting and then connecting with the cosmos, or with the external energy. So that's why when the peoples are, they are very kind, and then, so that's why we call those people have a big heart, because they're thinking for the others and thinking for the earth, thinking for all of that. So that's why they got profound energy, and then their perception also is profound. They can sense what's happening much more. It's because that is, we last time already mentioned that. So can you imagine, and many organs have cancer cells. Kidney can have a cancer, liver, and then, all of that, stomach and the intestine.
I have cancer cells. You have cancer cells.
Yeah, everybody. But, there's one sense, and then the heart never really have a cancer, because there's a high vibration. So that vibration is so powerful, can be really healed many things. So that's one of the reasons in the ancient Chinese medicine and the classical Chinese medicine, they always said, the heart is governing your spirit, your soul, and then your brightness, your original, the highest of yourself. And also they're in charge all of the rest of the part of you. So that's one of the reasons for training the Chinese medicine doctor is whether that doctor have a big love. If the doctor have a big love, the treatment effect will definitely get better. That's also why, and so many doctors, they have that kind of, we call the extra sense of perception, because when they're really based in the heart, they can sense there's so much subtle energy change. So, for example, in the ancient time, because their hierarchy system, the royal family and the emperor's wife or any woman not supposed to be see outside people. So that's why when they're sick and the doctor come, the doctor cannot touch them. There's a feudal country. Feudal country is like, the man and woman need to have a distance. They're not meant to be touch each other. So that doctor has to feel the pulse, because sometimes part of the examination is to touch the pulse, to sense how's the pulse beating, and whether it's strong or what is the character. So if a doctor cannot touch the pulse, how could they do? So they have a method. So the lady sick hold the thread, and then between the curtain, the doctor sit outside of the curtain. You're meant to be see the patients. You touch the thread, and through the thread, you're going to diagnose.
So the thread is attached to this lady through the curtain?
Yes.
Ah.
So that's why the doctor only allowed to hold that thread through the thread, almost like touch people's pulse. And then you got to diagnose and prescribe the correct the herbs. Can you imagine? The doctor need to be superpower to understand. So of course, those doctors has been diagnosed correctly and treat them. But to me, is that holding the thread is just very symbolic, because when you get in touch with that patient, so you are actually, your perception start getting into that information. So that's called the ESP. So ESP is like you can remote view something else. You can remote hear anything. And then you can reading the people's mind, all of that. So because when that just like, when you were watching the television, can you imagine people making a film? Probably the person already died. The actors already died. But they're still acting in front of you, just like us, they're still alive. How can? How things works like that? And then I remember there's a stories. My brother first see the mirror, and then he thought, wow, that's a person. When he was very little, he tried to go back side to look whether there's people standing behind him. Just like, the children watching the television. So, and then they just said, hey, who is acting that beside? They try to see the real person.
Right.
So can you imagine our human being already developed in such kind of stage? So you don't need to have a real person there. All you will catch is the electric magnetic field. And then you copy it. You keep that. So that's why, and we were talking about Chinese medicine. It is work on the invisible aspect. It's like magnetic field, and then even the space and time, they can copy the information, can remand the information. Just like your brain. It's not like a Chinese medicine doctors more profound than anyone else. Everybody have that function, but they just know how to develop, how to use the brain, use the body function to be able to do all of the detecting and then receiving the message and then copy inside them. And when the time needed, they start release that. Just like television.
So everything's almost stored in a computer as a program, and you can just pick into that particular code.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why, and then for example, I see so many patients. I don't remember all of them name, but I remember each patient's tongue coating, or the tongue, what it look like, because it almost like photographed page by page, and I remember each time what's the problems. So because you can train yourself, like photograph the memory, you can train yourself restore the information. You can train yourself to have a long distance and view. And then you can train yourself to hear the message. So that is not something new, because there's many reports. Say even not just in China, in the West, like during the war, the mother certainly had a dream, and their children in the war died, and then have a panic. They see the situation, the view. And then later on, they got information that the soldiers, his mother's son, died in certain day. And then the mother exactly see the same sense on that day. It's because they have a profound promote kind of connection, like either the information on the DNA. So the mother-son information is quite powerful. All the people cultivate so much, and then they can really access and then can feel people. So that's why in the ancient time, to be able to dealing this kind of profound system on the space and time, especially beyond the eye system, they need strong virtue, because it's invisible. So you start to tap into the certain information. You only to do it for the good. So that's why to train the Chinese medicine doctor in the ancient time, only people have a big love can be a doctor. Because you don't really want to people to use for their own benefit for those information and message. So that's one of the reasons. Those kind of wisdom and knowledge has been very, very profound as esoteric training in the ancient history. For example, Li Shizhen is the doctor who category and then to standard all of Chinese herbs in the Chinese history. And so now the dictionary of the Chinese herbs is made by him. He mentioned one sense. He said, their only internal network, like a matrix network in the human body, can be seen and visualized by those who practice a lot to be able to visualize. That means people not being trained properly, they cannot do it. But of course, some people were born like that. There's an exceptional case. But for years of training, you need to be very calm. It's because you need to lighten yourself. The ego goes away to be able to stay in that profound, peaceful state. And also the certain technique to how to be focused. And then to be able to say the meridian system. So that's why the Chinese meridian system, that's kind of exist, has been proved by the doctor, by themselves, because they see it. They can either see it or sense that system inside the body themselves. And also when they apply for the treatment, they can feel patients and their meridians, how that works. So by using that system, they can profoundly release some of the problems. So that's one of the reasons that our human body is a really sophisticated system. We call it, like space and time system. So that's why classical Chinese medicine, I love it, because I feel they're ready to develop or discovering that kind of a system exists, which is and the truth within their own right. But of course, nowadays the modern society try to use the machine to develop a certain kind of a technique. Is similar, like what they do, their practice. But of course, there's many others still need to be kind of to develop, still not catch that yet. So that's why I just want to touch base on that. And so there's quite lots of more we can talk that next time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.